Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. I'm Sally.
I'm Linda.
I'm Ming.
And we're moving Oolong.
Let's start by introducing ourselves. All three of us are Asian American undergrad students at a large public university, but we all have really different backgrounds. So, Sally, why don't you start?
I'm a Cantonese Chinese Asian American, and my mom's from Hong Kong, my dad's from Guangzhou. And currently I'm studying biochemistry and microbiology, and I'm also doing some research on campus. What about you, Linda?
So I'm also a second-generation Asian American woman. My mom is from Inner Mongolia in China, and my dad is from Taiwan. So I'm doing a double major in American Studies and Public Health Science. And on campus, I'm involved in being a resident assistant in research too.
Okay. Wow, resident assistants unite. So I'm actually a Chinese adoptee, studying public health science with a minor in Asian American Studies.
Yes, public health.
Okay. And like Linda, I'm a resident assistant on campus, and I'm also involved in Technical and all women's hackathon.
Okay, so now that you know a little bit about us, let's get into introducing our podcast and why we started it.
Right, so my initial thoughts of when we started this podcast is that I love listening to podcasts, especially podcasts from different perspectives. But one thing I realized, and I think Sally agrees with this, is that all the podcasts I've seen are lacking the perspective of a college undergrad, someone who's going through this transition in life, and especially someone with the perspective of an Asian American woman.
As the three of us are getting ready to apply to or go to grad school and apply for jobs, I think it's really important to have voice our struggles and what we've been going through this past year and during the transition period, and I hope that you guys will be able to relate to all of our stories.
Also, another thing is that we're all the oldest siblings in our family, so this is a way for us to kind of document our experiences in this transition state, but also hopefully offer advice to people younger than us and have some knowledge to look back on.
Plus, I see it as a fun little creative outlet that we can have. Now that we're grinding through final season, this can be something that we can enjoy, and then later on, like as a time capsule, we can enjoy maybe as we're older.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of you guys might be curious about why we decided to go with the name Moving Oolong. Well, funny story is we actually had two names that we really liked. It was either between tea and egg or moving along. So the three of us are actually split between which one we like better. Linda and I both like tea and egg better, but Ming liked moving along.
Team moving along all the way.
Right. Okay, after a very dramatic Instagram live poll,
It's very heated.
the results came out to be moving Oolong.
So, why don't you share about why you thought tea and egg was a good idea, and then I'll put my 2 cents in for moving along.
Well, I thought tea and egg would be cute because it's like a tea egg, and it kind of speaks to our Chinese background, I guess.
Yeah, tea egg is very sentimental and
Yeah.
homey kind of thing I associate it with. Also, it was more cutesy, I guess.
Yeah.
Tea and egg.
Like milk and honey.
Yeah, milk and honey.
Wait, for a second, for those who don't know, can we explain what a tea egg is? Because I just learned last year what it is.
Okay, gladly. A tea egg is a hard-boiled egg, and then you crack the shell a little bit so the seasoning, the flavor can get in, and it looks really pretty when it comes out.
Well, you have to say what you season it in.
Oh, so you soak it in a big pot with soy sauce, star anise, peppercorn,
tea.
Yeah, black tea.
That makes sense.
A bunch of other stuff, and it just sits there in this pot until it gets very savory.
Yeah, and it was really good when we made it for our student org TASA I think 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of has a special connection with us.
Yeah, I remember that was the first time I'd ever even heard of tea egg and tried it, and it was pretty good. But I'm still a big fan of our current name, moving along.
Okay, Ming, why don't you talk about our current name?
Right, so Sally actually came up with this name when we were...
I came up with both.
Okay.
Actually.
When we were brainstorming names, this one really jumped out at me because it's a cute little play on words for oolong and along. And when I thought of the purpose of this podcast was to be talking about how we're transitioning and moving along, or oolong, from seniors in college to hopefully adults living in the real world. I thought it encapsulated our theme really well. and when someone looks at it, they can like immediately get it. But I will admit, tea and egg is really cute, especially because everyone calls me an egg. So.
As much as I like tea and egg, moving along does have that kind of aspect that can grow with us, because when we think of eggs, there's always a larva stage.
I'm always
so
the egg.
like, when are we gonna hatch, you know? So moving along can kind of grow with us as we go through more transitions.
So we're leaving the egg in 2019 and embracing 2020 with oolong tea.
Let's go!
Now that our formalities are finally over, we can share a little bit about what's been going on with us this week. So why don't you start, Ming?
It's like the weekly update.
Yeah.
So my week has been pretty interesting, seeing as it's the last, not officially, but the last week of classes for me. I'm not going to class on Monday. But yeah, it's the end of the semester for me, so a lot of projects are wrapping up, a lot of presentations lately. But some really cool things have been happening. I think when I went to my internship, my boss was out for a few hours, so I got to like hang around the office a bit, got to actually walk outside around the neighborhood, which is nice to get a breath of fresh air. Lynn and I saw Hustlers actually the other day. We were really, well, at least I was heavily anticipating this movie because I'd heard so much about it. It has all the cool stars in it, Constance Wu, J-Lo, and I was kind of underwhelmed.
Oh, I didn't know it was based on a real story, so that kind of like amped up the stakes for me, because I thought that if they were going to make this kind of story, they could have added a bit more. But seeing all that like aesthetic was really interesting. But Ming said it was underwhelming. They could have done more with the plot, but I did appreciate seeing kind of empowerment on screen.
What was the story like actually about?
It's about well, there's like two central lines in it. I think the overall arching theme of it is that hustlers are the strippers, and they've been like working at the strip club, dancing for so long. There's the economic crisis in 2008, so now they have to suddenly find a way to make money when customers aren't coming in. So they, the ringleader is J-Lo, and she decides with the other girls that maybe we should try other methods of getting people to come into the strip club, and that includes like drugging men and bringing them in, taking their credit card and stuff like that.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Right. Oh, we should have said that. But I think there's an underlying theme, you would say, between J-Lo and Constance Wu, who are both the stars, and it's like about their relationship as some might say competitors, but they also work together, which I thought was interesting. And I also didn't expect the little anecdote about Constance like past, like being abandoned as a baby, which was sad. But
yeah, also J-Lo had a really powerful line in the movie when she was talking about how these men in Wall Street steal money from the working class. Like, they exploit a lot of people, and they don't get in any like legal trouble for it, unlike like sex workers who are very often criminalized. So they kind of use this to explain like, oh, we're taking this for ourselves, this money belongs to us anyway, because these Wall Street guys are coming in with money they exploited from other people.
It's like a whole system of being trapped, I would say. So like, you do what you have to do. One of Linda's favorite phrases is that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. So I think this movie really played to that, where like you're in the system, you have to work it, you have to hustle as you can. And that's actually something we touched on in my like Asian American Studies class, so it's kind of weird to see it full circle. Terry would be proud, I think. But yeah, we saw the Hustlers movie. I actually skipped out on one of my meetings kind of early for it, just because I was so excited to see it. But yeah, what have you guys been up to?
So yesterday I had a lab hangout with people in my lab, so we went to my advisor's house. It was pretty casual. I had a lot of fun. We played this game called Resistance, where it's kind of like Mafia, but you have to kind of lie about your motivations so you can find the spy, and it was really fun. So I suggest you guys check it out if you're playing
Mafia.
a game with your coworkers, your lab mates, your friends.
I'll keep that in mind.
Maybe we can talk about this later on, your experiences working in a lab, because all three of us have worked in very different labs on campus. But in my experience, I've never felt that close to the PI or any like higher person above me. I just went in, did the little pipette, and then left.
Yeah, I know I'm really lucky to have this kind of mentorship, because it is like a college environment and it is like very supportive.
Yeah. I would have to say my experience with lab is pretty similar to Linda's, although I'm not as close to my PI as you are. She's kind of intimidating. She's really nice. But yeah, I've actually been in lab a lot this week since things are winding down. I had a big project, like a practical on Wednesday, and like our last lab report for the whole semester on Thursday, so that was like a huge weight off my chest. And then now I'm just kind of chilling and been going into lab and trying to finish up my data collection. And it's really nice being in lab because the Christmas lights are like in our lab, and we have this like Festivus pole. They have this
a pole?
What?
Yeah, my like grad student mentor.
Hustler, anyone?
No, it's like he has this whole thing about like how he wants to like make Festivus a thing instead of Christmas or something like that. So yeah, he has this.
Is Festivus a holiday?
I guess so. I'm not really sure, but I think it's just like a troll thing.
Oh, so they can avoid saying like Christmas.
Yeah, something like that. But I don't know. He also wears like Christmas sweaters too. Like he participates in Christmas, so
I think it's interesting being at a public university how that like plays out, because as an RA, at least on my staff, my boss, instead of having Secret Santa, she literally said we had to do secret snowflakes to keep it very PC, some might say, or like stay away from any religion. I think that's kind of interesting.
Oh, speaking of RA, so I had to actually bust a holiday party
Bust?
last
already?
night.
You're like, bah humbug.
Yeah, we had multiple calls about it. So at first we were like, be quiet, but they got even louder. So we were like, okay, we have kind of no choice. So we were like, oh, some of you have to leave because it's too quiet. And we were awkwardly just like staying there, and they're like leaving, and it was really elaborate because they were like Christmas sweaters. So they had like gift wrap presents, but they were very polite. They were just like loud for no reason. Like they were like, get home safe, like at the top of their lungs. I was like, oh my god. But yep, there's my Christmas.
That'll definitely have to be another episode, like being RAs and dealing with these residents, because man, if I had known it's been like this, I don't know.
Some more some more guests that
Yeah,
are RAs.
Comment on this experience.
Yeah, and Sally, as her 2 years as a resident, she can speak to it. Because I remember our resident, or our RA, sophomore year, I was like, he doesn't do anything. Why did he even get hired? Who is he? And then now I'm like literally the same, like locking myself in my room.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we had a busy week. Do you guys have any plans for next week or any expectations regarding like finals? Because finals start on Wednesday.
Well, my finals will be actually pretty chill because I only have 2. And I have one on Wednesday and then one the next week. So I'm not too stressed about that. What about you guys?
I'm not too stressed either, kind of because I feel like my grade are already kind of set
Yeah,
right now, because you know
same.
how you can like calculate the percentage you need to get for like. So right now it's kind of impossible for me to raise some B's into A's, so I'm just gonna chill out and not like stress about it too much.
I think we were talking about this earlier though, but I'm definitely not stressing too, because now it's more like, oh, will I get a B or an A? And then freshman year was like, will I pass this class? So it's definitely, especially as a senior, senioritis is kicking in.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I was supposed to study today. Did not happen, but
Same.
next week.
Yeah. Well, especially for, like, I guess me and Linda, since we already applied to grad schools, we're like, they're not even going to look at our grades now. Or, like, they might, but, like, it won't change their decision to, like, accept us or not. I mean, they'll look at our official transcripts, but
I don't think
but
we'll,
at
like,
that point,
any,
they'll already like know whether or not they'll accept us.
See, this is what we mean by the podcast. It's a time of transition in our lives, figuring everything out.
Don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
right.
really don't know.
Me scrolling LinkedIn in class all the time, looking for available jobs. But yeah, it was nice catching up with you all. Thanks everyone for listening to our first episode of Moving Oolong. We know that there were some hiccups and bumps along the road, but we're really hoping that you'll stick around and listen to us as we keep recording these episodes. It was a really fun chance to catch up with each other, because honestly we don't see each other that often because we're all living on either different parts on campus or commuting like Sally does. So this is a time for us also to reconnect. But we talked a little bit about why we started this podcast, a bit of our background, so hopefully you can relate to it all. If not, stick around, because I'm sure we'll say something that'll catch your attention or that you can relate to. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Okay, so if you like this episode, which I'm sure you did, follow us on Instagram at movingalongpod, and feel free to reach out to us at our email movingoolong@gmail.com.
Bye!